Hi, I'm Connie Whitman, your host, and you're listening to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. As always, I'm happy that you're joining us this week. So my quote is by Kushand Wizdom, and he says, "Don't chase people, be you. Do your own thing and work hard. The right people who belong in your life will come to you and stay." Now, do you get in the way of your own success? We all do. We know we're part of the problem, yet I don't think sometimes we have the idea of how to steer clear of these recurring self-sabotaging behaviors. It's absolutely infuriating. So how the heck do we become healthy, wealthy, and wise and actually get it to stick? Well, today my guest is Helen MacMillan, on for the second time. Helen is the founder and CEO of Helen MacMillan Coaching. Helen is a modern-day emancipator who helps high-achieving individuals create and sustain the personal and professional freedom they desire and yet so often eludes them. Now, Helen's mission is to equip those individuals who are ready to make a profound shift with the mindset, skill set, and healing that allows them to powerfully and authentically create success from the inside out, using their deepest truth and wisdom as their guide. Now, Helen combines her strong intuitive healing abilities with the practical expertise and wisdom gained from building three successful businesses. Three boys, of course, taking her sanity to help her clients create a life of joy and love with ease and grace. So please help me welcome my awesome, amazing guest, Helen, to the show. So Helen, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Connie. It's wonderful to be back with you.
Yes, we had a wonderful conversation last time, just about that inner self, right? And inner dialogue. And we're going to kind of build on that today a little bit. So I know that you are known for helping people make changes that are joyful and sustainable. Let's jump right in. How the heck do you do that? Because we are self-sabotaging in how we live our lives oftentimes.
Yes. One of the things I always say is it's interesting that we have to work so hard to be ourselves, right? And to figure out who we are. So it is that journey. That is the journey. And we are, the thing that I find as I've worked with more and more people over the years is, they say that public speaking is the fear greater than the fear of death itself, right?
Yeah.
And I'm finding that there's another fear that is even greater than that, and that is the fear of our own power. The fear of actually standing in the power to choose, the power to be ourselves, the power, and part of it is because it's so conditioned out of us, because by people who would like to control us. Right?
Absolutely.
Whether it begins in our life. Yeah, exactly. Whether it begins in our life, way the people who need to control us. I know I did this with my children, we need to exert our power over them because sometimes we can feel so out of control with them. But, and also, society, culturally, it is easier to control people when you take away their power.
Absolutely.
So,
and we're programmed.
It's interesting.
It is, and we're programmed by the media. We're programmed by the government.
Yes.
We're programmed by parents, grandparents, teachers. It is what it is. So how do we regain that power back? And that's really your expertise. Helen, I just want to comment. You're staticky. Your voice is just a little staticky. I don't know, maybe if you're moving around the microphone.
There we go.
Yeah, be careful. Okay.
Perfect.
No problem. It's all good. Hey, this is live, baby, right? This is the way it is. My next question is, when it comes to making changes, we all absolutely get in our own way, as I said in my introduction, and we make it so much harder than it absolutely needs to be. What are some of the common ways that you see people just kind of getting in their own way and getting stuck, if you will?
Yeah. So the number one way I think is again part of I want us to really move into a place of no shame, no blame. I call them the freedom principles, right? No shame, no blame, no judgment, no excuses, 100% responsibility. So the first thing we have to do is we have to be willing to practice each of those, right? Stop blaming others or situations. right? Be willing to take responsibility. Because here's the thing is, if you got yourself into this situation, you don't have to wait for someone or the world to change. You can get yourself out. Unfortunately, we have to be able to see what we're doing. And one of the wonderful ways we get in our own way is we hide shit from, excuse my French, we hide stuff from ourselves. You may have to put a blooper over that one. But we do, we hide things from ourselves. We put it in our blind spot, right?
Absolutely.
And so, because then, we get confused about it. We tell ourselves, I don't know what to do. Because then if we don't know, then how can we change it? And it's that fear. So we've got to learn to, first of all, acknowledge our fear instead of running from it. I had a really powerful session this morning with a client, and she had a recurring dream. And she said, I want to talk to you about it because I've had it 3 times now, and I think maybe I want your perspective on it. And as she told me, it was very clear, which happens a lot of times, right? Sometimes other people can see things easier than you can because they're not as close, right?
Absolutely.
When you see something, you can't see it.
Yep.
And it was very obvious to me, and I said, well, what if you had to guess who these people were in the dream, what would you guess? And she was like, I think it's this. I said, that's what I got too, 100%. But in the dream, she was running away from this person who was trying to hurt her. So I simply took her into, it's so beautiful, our imagination. There's always now. So it's never too late to do the work of healing something, right?
Agreed.
And we simply went in and I said, now instead of running away, let's have you turn and face this person and ask them why they're chasing you and why they're angry at you, why they're trying to hurt you. And it led to such a profound and beautiful and transformational experience. And that resolved so much for her in the moment. And so I always say our pain, our fear, they're gifts. They're gifts. They contain gifts. They're here to serve us. So that's what we do. We be willing, first of all.
And it's interesting. Yeah, well, that's true. So a couple of things. First, we all have crap. You're absolutely right. And we all tell our story because it's easier to believe our story and deflect and put blame on a situation, another person, your job, your boss, whatever it is. It's easier to do that because it removes it from my ownership, right? And it's very hard to admit when you screw up. And we all do, Nobody's perfect. And I think if you, at the end of the day, if you look back at how many times you messed up, you're going to be like, whoa, we all mess up, but you have to own it. And you have to say, this is me. This is my mistake. I own it. And I'm going to make it better. We're afraid to do that. And I love how you said, we take those things, whatever the issues are, and we put them in our blind spot, because then I could say, well, I didn't know that. So it's easy, again, deflect. Oh, I didn't know that. We know what our issues are. And the other thing, I giggle because, and I know as I say this, everybody listening, and Helen, you and I included, will think of people that you're like, they love to give advice, even though perhaps you're not asking for the advice, because they know better of what you should be doing. And then you're sitting there looking at them thinking, your life is a freaking mess. And you're trying to, right? Everybody's picturing someone. You're trying to tell me how to fix my life or my issue or whatever's going on. Look internally and maybe do some of your own work, and then you become defensive of how dare you judge me and try to correct me when I feel you're an absolute train wreck. So it's so easy to deflect and blame and all these other things. We all know what our crap is. We have to peel back the onion and do the work. And you're absolutely right. People are afraid, I think, to do the work. And that's why in my intro with your bio, one of the phrases is you're available for people who are ready and willing to do the work and put the time in so that transformation, absolutely. And it can happen. It happens to all of us, right?
Yes. And I love that you said that you actually brought up the word transformation, because for years I used to say, I want to be an inspirational speaker, right? I want to, and I love inspiring people. I really do. However, I really made a huge internal shift for myself about it. It was actually early in 2018. I said, I don't want to be inspiring people anymore. I want to help people to transform. Because inspiration is beautiful, and it's meant to get us started on the journey, right? Because without the inspiration, it's kind of like that little infatuation phase that gets you into a marriage or into a committed relationship, right? Without it, because if we knew the work that was involved in really having a happy, healthy, sustainable relationship, called marriage, right? Then we would probably never step into it. So it is that inspiration is important, but the transformation is the inspiration plus the work, the sweat equity, doing it, showing up, and it is totally worth it. Totally worth it.
And the transformation is when we get the change to stick. Right? We can all have pipe dreams of, oh, I'm going to lose weight. Oh, I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. to write my book. And then we never execute. Dreams are a beautiful thing. The work is what executes that dream and makes it a reality. And that's the transformation that gets the change to stick. Yeah. Now you have a powerful process that helps people identify why, and I have that in capital in my notes, why they're getting in their own way. Can you share some of that process with us so people could get their heads around the concept?
So it's literally it's why you're getting in your own way is very simple. You're afraid of something. You're afraid of something. So it's about asking a direct question. And again, it's so instead of saying, whatever the other beautiful phrases and masks that fear dresses up as, whatever it, why am I feeling anxious? Why am I, upset? Why am I angry? What am I afraid of? And the beautiful thing is your answer comes from within you. Your answer comes from within you. So this process of literally looking at being willing, first of all, oh my gosh, being willing, able, and then there are questions that you ask yourself, right? So the other thing is you tuning into what you're feeling, because we go numb, we blank out, we distract ourselves. So the first step would be like being willing to ask yourself, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? And then and just literally write it down. Pen and paper is your friend, right? The mind wants to say, oh, I can handle that. Hold on. I just need to think it through. No, get a pen and paper and write it down. Yeah. And then the next thing is, what would I prefer to be feeling?
I like it.
What would I prefer to be feeling? The third question is, what do I need to believe? Because your beliefs drive your thoughts, drive your feelings.
Yeah.
Right? So what is it I need to believe in order to feel that? Right? And then the fourth thing is, what's one action I can take right now that's aligned with that belief? Because here's the thing, if we sit around and are not ultimately in action, nothing changes.
That's exactly right.
We have to take different actions. So it's that 4 quick steps process. I call it the quick shift process, because whenever anything isn't working, we want to be able to shift.
and here's the funny thing: 4 very simple questions, but are they, right? But reality is, and I like how you said that, just kind of get a pen and paper. Don't think about it. Ask the question, and the first thing that comes to your head, write it down, because then we're not justifying it and rethinking it and say, well, no, it's not. It's got to be. We're using our logic. No. Yeah. Ask the question, and immediately the first thing that comes into your head, just write it down. Ask the second question, just without editing in our brain, write it down. Because the funny thing is, Helen, and you and I know this, right? Because we've done a lot of work on ourselves as well over the number of years we've been alive. We have the answers inside of us. Yeah. We just have to learn how to tap into it. And that's how I view you. You're like the resource to take the blinders off, right? And let us see with more clarity. So you take the veil away. And now all of a sudden, you have clarity. You know that there's a commercial on TV, I think it's Claritin. And they say, this is, when your allergy season, they have a veil over, it's very foggy. And then they go, and then you take Claritin, and then, and you see with clarity.
Claritin clear.
That's Helen, right? That's what Helen does.
Absolutely. Thank you. I've never used that analogy, and I will credit you and use it. Yay. Because it is beautiful. And it's true. And I think one of the things I always say is this journey has got to be fueled by compassion and non-judgment. Yeah. Because Some of us beat ourselves up for the fact that we're unclear, beat ourselves up for the fact that we're getting in our own way, beat up ourselves for the fact that we help others so brilliantly with the very thing that we struggle with the most. So we feel like a fraud sometimes. But that's
Absolutely.
not true. The reason that you're so good at helping others is because you've struggled with it, right? And there's no shame in asking for help for yourself. I recently had an experience with a horse. Horses are beautiful. They've used hippotherapy
Sure.
for many years in many different ways, right, to help people. I did a horse medicine session with a beautiful woman by the name of Diana Gogan in Arizona, and she has this horse that she's worked with for many years, her horse. And so I was attracted to it. I didn't know why I wanted to do this session. I just thought it would be interesting. And oh boy, I love that because I follow the whispers. That's another wisdom here, people. Trust yourself enough, trust life, trust your soul to follow the whispers, right? So I just kind of thought, that would be interesting. While I'm out there, I'm going to sign up for this. And I did. And I showed up the day and I was curious. Again, substitute judgment for curiosity, right? It will open up worlds for you.
Yeah.
So I show up and I'm curious. I knew that I had some fear around horses from when I was a child, but I've worked through it a little bit. As I showed up, I got to feel that there was some anxiety there still. There was some fear. Didn't know. So it was beautiful. We start working with this stallion. And the stallion is tied, he's bridled, he's tied to the thing. And she's explaining all the safety rules to me. And there's a female horse who belongs to her friend whose property it was, who's in the same corral with us, but just not tied, walking around. And there's a little dwarf, miniature pony. They're so cute. And they're just wandering around freely. And we're standing there, and we're about maybe 4 feet from the horse, the stallion, and she's saying, the first thing I want you to do is just go up and just place your hand on the side of his neck. And you know that. And just thinking about that, I already start to feel afraid. I start to cry. I just, I'm honoring you. And it's so beautiful. I start to feel this warm breath on my right ear and this little nuzzling. And it's the female horse. And my whole body starts to relax. I'm surprised.
No way.
I'm like, it felt so nurturing and so caring. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I relax and I soften and I'm turning and I'm crying. Now it's tears of gratitude instead of fear, right? And love conquers fear every time, people.
Time, yeah.
Please remember that, right? So I turn to her and I'm just crying and saying, thank you. And I'm now ready to walk up to the stallion and place my hand on his neck, which I do. I breathe through that, stay in my center as she's guiding me. And then I place my hand on his heart chakra and I have this beautiful experience because the horse just mirrors back to you. They're so sensitive. They just mirror you back to you.
Really?
Yes. So I had a tangible experience of the vast softness and expanse of my own heart chakra. I was blown away. So beautiful. Then she says, okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to do full body contact, the side of your body, drape your arm over the side of the horse and your full side. And she said, the thing is, and then you're going to walk down the horse, around the back, up the other side. Keep full body contact because they can't see you.
Oh.
So they need to feel you where you are so they don't step on you, rail against you, whatever. I said, okay, great. And I'm there and I start to take a few steps and this terror rises up in my body. And of course, instantly he starts to react. So he starts to kind of sidestep and I'm now more afraid that he's going to step on me. So I'm trying to step with him, move with him. And the fear is growing and I am crying and I do something that is so powerful. I stretch out my free hand, my right hand, and I say to her, hold my hand. That's what most of us don't do. There is only one way to get through your terror barrier, and that is with loving support.
Yes. And it's interesting because I bet as soon as you touched her hands, the horse felt her energy through you because we're all just a conduit of energy. And probably
I wish I could tell you that was the truth.
no, he didn't. He got more
Well,
excited.
no, I was still so much in my fear. So I was trying to stay in connection with him. I'm holding her hand. I'm trying to, and here's the energy. I'm like, it was this energy of, I'm going to push through this, right? I'm going to do this. And she says to me so gently and lovingly, she said, step away for a moment, Helen, and let him calm down. And I knew in that moment as she said it, I said, it's not him who needs to calm down, it's me. So here's the other piece. Compassion, grace, honoring where you are on your journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay? And so she reminded me of that. It took a few moments, and instantly as I stepped away, I bent over, and Connie, I wailed. That I don't know where from the depths of me there was this pain that was being released, right? And it was so cathartic, and it was so beautiful. And she said, just walk it out. I walked it out, and I came back. She said, you ready again? I said, yep. She said, what do you need? I said, take my hand.
That was good.
And I walked. It was beautiful. I walked down, I walked around, and when I got to the other side and I needed to switch the sides of my body, I let go her hand to make contact with that side, to start the journey back. And guess what? I didn't need to take her hand. It was enough that she was there.
See there, and that's the transformation. What a great story. I love horses. I think they're just majestic and beautiful creatures. And so that journey around his body, right? Everybody's thinking who's not afraid of horses, like, really? But they are big creatures, and if they do step on you, right, you can get injured. So all of those fears from a kid, and your reaction was a little girl's reaction, because your logic thinking, the horse is trained. The trainer is right here.
Yeah.
The horse is used to this.
She's not going to put me in danger.
So the logic kicks in, but the emotional response, and that's where I think we need to learn that transformational process of, number one, reaching out for help when needed, and I think oftentimes we think, oh, I could do this. Stop being so heroic and so martyry, and ask for help when you need it, because we all need help. You don't know everything, we do all have blind spots.
Yes. And when we're afraid, we are literally, our IQ, and studies have shown this, our IQ actually drops. Yeah. We are stupid when we are afraid.
Absolutely.
We do not make our best decisions.
Yes.
We do not. I'll tell you a little end note to that story. In hindsight, it was all about me embracing my masculine power. Notice how I wasn't afraid of the female horse, but I was afraid of the stallion, the male horse.
Isn't that
and that was all about, I had some early childhood abuse, and involving men, and powerful men in my life, and some old stuff around my dad as well. He's not the one who abused me, but just old wounding with daddy stuff to clear up too. So there was a lot of fear of the masculine power, and it was about me embracing and integrating my masculine power, which has shifted every way I'm showing up in my life and in my business. And so fascinating.
That's so powerful and so awesome. And that's why I think we do need to talk to people like you or experts, because we don't understand that stallion represented the trauma from the child in a million years. I don't think the average person who's not trained like you would be able to make that connection.
Connect the dots. Yes.
Other than, okay, I've conquered that fear. Saw the fear, understood I conquered the fear, but not connect that fear really was generated from a childhood trauma. And I don't think we always have the ability or the memory or the clarity to be able to do that. And sometimes that's where we have to reach out our hands and say, Helen, can you help me? Or whoever, can you help me? That really very powerful. And what a powerful, for you, that be able to finally or hopefully put those traumas to bed, so to speak, and be able to move on.
And it's been many layers, and I've worked on them in many, many different ways. And I have people who help me. I always say the smartest thing I ever learned to do was to ask for help and to reach out and get the help. And it doesn't mean that my resistance doesn't come up, because resistance is just fear, right? Yeah. But what's fascinating is the horse also in American Indian tradition represents, is the totem and represents personal power.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that
Yes.
interesting?
Yes.
What
Yes.
a, and
Yes.
again, see the whispers. Go to the horse. Go to the horse.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
what made you? You were curious.
Right.
Curiosity can be curiosity on good stuff, right? Not bad
Yes.
stuff. But curiosity could be a really good thing. What do you think? Again, because you deal with so many people, what do you think is the most powerful thing that we can change? Everybody listening, like, what would be the one tip so that we can become happier, healthier, wealthier, all of those things? What would be the one thing you would recommend maybe?
Make friends with yourself. Be your own best friend. Stop running from yourself. It's the thing we're running from most. I tell you, I give, often I will give a exercise to clients about literally setting a timer and just sitting in silence with themselves. It is one of the most hard things to do. I've meditated and I advocate meditation, and I meditated for probably 25 plus years,
Wow.
fairly regularly. And it is only this year that I have been able to actually sit in silent meditation. I'm a proponent of starting where you are. So guided meditations are great. Walking, meditate. There are a million ways to meditate. You can meditate on drinking a cup of tea, right? It's literally just a mind focusing tool. It's about focusing on one thing. And so the silent meditation, you have to from in my journey and with many of my clients, in order to be able to do that successfully, you have to be willing to be present with whatever is going on inside of you. And our mind will have all kinds of unkind things to say, or it will want to distract you, or our body might be giving us, sensations of pain or discomfort that we have judgments about. And so it's to do that, we have to do the journey of releasing judgments. And again, you can't change what you can't see. So be willing to see.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do yoga, and which is, again, for me, that's transformational. I always feel relieved when I leave there. And the one instructor, she set an intention at the beginning, and then she talks through as we're doing different poses. So maybe you couldn't do the pose today that you did last week. Don't judge yourself. So she really helps you get in your own head. And it's funny because I'm thinking, I was just judging myself that why can't I do this pose this week? Why is it hurting me? So it's like she's in your head, right? So she's amazing. Crystal, shout out to Crystal. She's awesome. So
Yes.
one day she made us, there's of course mirrors in the studio, and we were doing the one of the poses, and you're looking at the mirror, and she's like, look at yourself. And she made us do that for about 2 minutes. Helen, I had to look away, I had to look down, I was looking at my fingers to make sure they were in the right position. I was like, whoa, this is really hard. And when I left, in the car, I was thinking, why was that so weird for me to look at myself for that period of time? It was very, very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And because we don't want to see who we are. We don't want to see that my pose wasn't great. There was judgment all over what I was looking at. Your hair looks terrible today. Oh my God, look at all those wrinkles. I would not wear makeup to go to yoga, of course. So wow, you're looking weathered, woman. All of this crap.
Yeah.
And that was so not the point of that exercise that she asked us, or maybe it was. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it is because it's about awareness. Everything starts with awareness, right?
Yeah.
So if you become aware of it, you can work on changing it.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, the next time you might go do it, you might be like, oh, let me see if I can find one thing I like about myself in the mirror.
Yep.
It might be that, wow, your skin looks hydrated today, right? Or wow, you're having a good hair day. Or you know what, I really like your legs. So that's literally where I started. Louise Hay made that work very popular, and as you know, or may not know, that's one of my certifications. I'm a Louise Hay Heal Your Life facilitator for many years, and the power of affirmations. Her book, You Can Heal Your Life, was so transformational for me that I actually said, I want to go study this with this woman. And I was blessed to be one of the last groups who actually got to spend a day with her at her house during the training. And she continues to impact lives, even though she's passed on now, right?
Absolutely.
So, but it's the simplicity. So often we think, oh, that's too easy, that's too simple, right? It's just one thing. If you just start being kinder to yourself, to be nicer to yourself in your head, right? And stop judging yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Do not be. Don't make yourself wrong.
We are judgy people.
Oh my goodness,
And we
we are.
judge others, but we are really judgy of self to the nth degree. It's really really dangerous because we're doing damage by doing that. Hey, I'm not saying judge. How could I have done that project better? Why didn't I stay on task today? Yeah, but that's not judging. That's evaluating. There's a big difference from evaluating and self-assessing yourself of how I did that. How could I have done it better versus you suck. Why'd you do it that way? Big difference in assessing and judging, right?
Yes. And I talk about the difference between even judging and discerning because we want to be discerning. We want, with that discernment, it's about you tuning in to your inner GPS, right? Yeah. And saying, is that for me? Do I like that? Do I not like that? Yeah. Do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? You got to be able to find your inner yeses and nos, right? But the judgment is externally gifted to you by society. It's part of your conditioning. Somebody taught you that.
Yep.
And you need to decide and discern for yourself. Is that what I want or is that not what I want? Do I choose to believe that? Do I choose to not? And is that aligned with where I want to be going and how I want to be with myself and with others? So that's the inner work. Right. And it comes back to everything begins with awareness.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
And the judgment.
That's absolutely true. It's funny. I started a third business with partners. It's called the Round Table Group, and we're trying to. We built a model, and we've tested it. We beta tested at a university in North Jersey, and our model is the ARA model. It's awareness, respect, and behavioral accountability, and that's that transformation that we're trying to bring to organizations because there's so much disrespect in our society and in our corporate lives. But the first one is, and we have where personal and corporate cultures align, right? So we have our personal biases, our personal beliefs, our personal stuff, and then we have our corporate culture and corporate stuff. So how do we blend those? And it has to start both on the corporate side and on the individual side with awareness. If I'm not even aware I'm doing something, how could I remedy or change it? So I love that because I think awareness starts with every aspect of our life. Again, both personally, professionally, doesn't matter. We're out of time, but do me one quick favor because those 4 questions were so profound that you gave earlier on the show. So as a wrap up.
How about I do this?
Go ahead.
I have it in a PDF document along with the instructions.
Oh,
and I'd be happy to share it with anyone if they just email me and say, I want the quick shift process.
Love it.
And I would be happy to share it with them.
Oh, thank you. That's amazing. That would be amazing.
They just email me at helen@helenmacmillan.com and I will give them to you again here. Absolutely. But I know that even when we write them down, sometimes it's good to have the instructions with them.
Yes.
To remind you. So the first one is I feel. The second one is I would prefer to feel. The third one is in order to feel that, I need to believe, right? And then you'll stay. And the fourth one is one action I can take that is aligned with that belief.
Love it. Love it.
And it's really just tapping into your inner wisdom.
Yeah. Again, we have the answers, Helen, right? We just sometimes need the guidance of how to tap into it, as you say, and kind of uncover whatever it is that's going on. Helen's website too, again, a wealth of information on that is helenmacmillan.com. I do want to spell it. Helen is HELEN and then MacMillan is MACMILLAN. So helenmacmillan.com. Email helen@helenmacmillan.com. And guys, my partner and I are still offering the free communication style assessment. Gives you a little bit of insight on how you communicate, how people maybe see you or perceive you. And you do get a little report that shares your strengths with your style combination and some of the glitches or blind spots that you might have. So go to wisdomdecoded.com. Right on that landing page is the free assessment. Take it and just check it out. If you have questions for me or you need my assistance with anything, of course, reach out to me directly at Connie@whitmanassociates.com, and I do respond to my emails personally. So, share as you will. It's always private, of course. Helen, thank you again for just being an amazing, amazing guest and just so much great information. The reality is we can share information. People have to take it and do something with it now.
Absolutely.
right?
Thank you,
So
Connie. I love what you do, and always a pleasure to be here with you.
same. Always a pleasure having you, and I love our time together. I always feel very happy afterwards. It's just a great energy exchange, and I always appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that. So again, great show.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Take
Back
care.
back at you. I hope you guys will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together how to challenge ourselves, like my guest Helen MacMillan shared with us today. Challenge ourselves so that we can embrace change, and it actually is easier than we think. Once you start the momentum and build that momentum, it becomes really easy. So use Helen's recommendation today to start your journey, continue your journey wherever you are, and go to helenmacmillan.com for that PDF with the directions. I do, Helen at helenmacmillan.com. I do highly recommend it. Thank you all again. Thank you, Helen, for being an amazing guest. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.net. I wish everyone a wonderful and inspired, and not just inspired, but transformational week ahead. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.